The ceasefire in the Middle East is being tested right now, with Israel launching a blitz of attacks on Gaza yesterday. An Israeli official said that the state's forces were fired upon in southern Gaza, prompting Netanyahu to order, quote, powerful strikes in return.
Now, health officials tell the AP that at least 7 Palestinians were killed. While Hamas handed over hostages' body parts on Monday, Israel said they were partial remains of another hostage who had already been returned. Netanyahu called this a clear violation of the ceasefire deal, which requires Hamas to return all hostages as soon as possible.
Vice President J.D. Vance spoke on the matter during his visit to Capitol Hill. Let's take a look.
The president achieved a historic peace in the Middle East. The ceasefire is holding. That doesn't mean that there aren't going to be little skirmishes here and there. We know that Hamas or somebody else within Gaza attacked an IDF soldier. We expect the Israelis are going to respond. But I think the president's peace is going to hold despite it.
Israel is accusing Hamas of staging the discovery of a hostage body in question, but Hamas is denying that. The terrorist organization said in statement, quote, "The occupation is seeking to fabricate false pretexts in preparation for taking new aggressive steps against our people in blatant violation of the ceasefire agreement."
Well, it's very vexing that both sides of this conflict want to undo the hard work that Donald Trump and many other negotiators, international and in Qatar and other places, worked to get a peace in place. It certainly seems to me that Hamas is returned the hostages and is returning body parts. And as grisly as this is to describe, that is very difficult to do because the entire area has been reduced to rubble and piles of ashes, and they don't know where all of them are. It's been over after so much time. They like the victims, like the Palestinians, are buried under blocks of concrete. So obviously, J.D. Vance said this a couple of days ago. He was totally correct. It's going to take time to find them. So if they gave back remains and it turns out that those were someone else, that could be deliberate and that's wrong, or it could be inadvertent. The difficulty of sorting out who's who I wouldn't assume that. I don't want to be naive and assume good faith either, but do you know what I mean? I don't know why you necessarily assume bad faith. And then Netanyahu should not just go, start shooting people again or launching rockets at people or in whatever way they're responding when we have this peace in place. So, I would like to, I expect better from the Israeli side of this and the Palestinian side. The peace should hold, it must hold. We don't want to get back to warfare.
So apparently Netanyahu was trying to get in touch with Trump, who's in East Asia, to get a green light for a full military response, which we'll see what President Trump says to that. Which is why I think the president should hold firm. Yeah, and I think when we look at this, there was a lot of anxiousness and reservation around this initial statement that this war was ended and there was peace because it was so fragile. Everything about it was so fragile. And we saw inklings of perhaps this falling through in little ways, even the days that followed the immediate announcement. And so I think a lot of stuff has to be taken into consideration. The fact that we don't know what the truth is, we never really do, right? We have Hamas, who is still operating in tunnels in some parts of Gaza that makes Israel uncomfortable. And we have Israel, who's told us a lot of things in the last few years that have been oversold or inaccurate when we find out and have our own reporting that are over-exaggerated. And so we don't know what's actually happening over there. I'd like to hear from the president, but this is more steeping ourselves in what we agree upon, making it the U.S.'s problem once again when the president was trying to solve it and take ourselves out of it.
Exactly.
And so it just is becoming something that's like this never-ending story. And I hope that there really is a conversation from everybody that was involved with how to peacefully follow every step of this plan to see this thing through, and pressure on every side to try to see this thing fully through, because nobody wants this.
If they go in again, Trump should say, look, okay, have fun, but you're doing it without our assistance, without our financial and military assistance.
Now, warfare in the water continues this week as the United States carried out 3 more lethal strikes on boats in the Pacific. Stick around for My Lens.